Hello everybody and welcome back to Level Up Architects, the channel where we explore the world of architecture one architect at a time. In tonight's live stream we are going to look at a couple of projects by an architect named Raj Rewal. But before I get into the meat and bones of the video, I just want to mention a couple of things. First of all, as you can probably hear, we have some music in the background, courtesy of YouTube Studio's free library of music. I hope everyone enjoys it. It's just something to make the stream a little bit more interesting and hopefully fill out the silence a little bit more. Yes. The second thing I want to mention is the top 5 videos was a little bit restricting, so I have decided to change it to and call it a showcase instead. Sometimes I found that when I do find an architect that I really like, sometimes I find that they don't actually have 5 projects that I can showcase. So I decided that the top 5s is too restricting and that I would change it to showcase, just calling it Level Up Showcase instead. I hope everyone likes it. I might still keep the top 5 name in the description or the label of the video, the name, but the thumbnails will say Showcase from now on. And hopefully, yes, it'll open up some doors to creating more exciting videos for everyone to enjoy. Then the last bit of things that the last bit of housekeeping I need to do is, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe, hit the bell icon. It helps YouTube to notify you about when I do go live. So the bell icon is definitely useful. If you enjoy the video, please don't hesitate to hit that like button. It helps the channel out quite a lot. And finally, I have a couple of I have a couple of social media accounts. Please go and follow me on social media, whichever one you choose and you are on. That will help me get the information out on the channel to you a lot easier. So yes, let's get into the video and talk about Raj Rewal. First of all, if you have any questions about anything I covered today, please feel free to pop into the chat and ask. I will check out what's happened in chat at the end of the video and try and answer as many questions as I possibly can. The first thing I want to say is thank you to Unias. He actually suggested this architect to me in one of my previous videos, and I really appreciate it because it's an architect I never knew about. So in that regard, I love this suggestion because it broadens my own horizons, and it also helps me to spread information about architects that might be well known to people in other countries, but definitely not well known necessarily around the world. So I like this. Thank you so much, Unias. I am very grateful. And the same as Unias, if you do have a suggestion for an architect that you would like to see in one of my upcoming videos, please feel free to pop that in the comments or in the live chat. It will be much appreciated, and maybe I'll do a video on your selected architect. That would be great. So let's hop into Raj Rewal. This is Raj Rewal. He is an Indian architect. I believe he was born in Delhi. No, he was born in Punjab. I am lying to you. He was born in Delhi and no, Punjab again, I'm so sorry. And he studied in London. He lived in Delhi and studied in London, and he eventually worked in Paris for quite a well-known firm there, and then came back to India, and he started his own practice called Raj Rewal Associates. He has been a lecturer at the School of Planning and Architecture, and also he has done a series of guest lectures around the world. So he's quite an important architect, especially in India, and yeah, I think he's had quite the impact in the architectural world with his works. So how I want to look at Raj Rewal's works is Raj Rewal actually breaks up his design ethic into 5 themes. The first being human habitat, second structure and light, and also spatial enclosures, materiality and craft, and sustainability. Those are his sort of 5 key components to his practice. And yes, I quickly want to go over each one of these points because I think that gives us a great way of measuring his work against his own rules. Let's see how he fares against his own set of rules. So human habitat, to me, it means he has a very deep understanding about the social constructs of the societies he places his work in. It also stems from an idea that a building is more than just a shelter, and it can give dignity to the person living in that building, and it can also uplift them in their lives. So human habitat is a very strong component of his architecture, and you will see it definitely shines through when we get to it. Structure and light. He loves using structure as a way of filtering light into his buildings. He plays with the facades, and sometimes he even wraps them into the building itself to become an interior facade, and we'll see that as well. And then spatial enclosures. He loves creating courtyards by arranging the masses of his buildings in a certain way to create these courtyards and pedestrian walkways. These courtyards and walkways creates moments of flow and pause, and also creates encounters with other people, which is a very, I think it's the strongest thing he does, is a combination of these spatial enclosures and human habitat. And then finally, we get to materiality and craft. I think he also has a very deep understanding of local culture, and he uses materials that are often very honest and locally sourced, but he also uses this as an opportunity to imbue a lot of cultural meaning into his buildings. And again, I think we will definitely see this in his projects going forward. So the final one is sustainability. I think it's fairly obvious. He does attempt to root these buildings in place and create buildings that function properly and are properly ventilated and cooled without being overly engineered and without it being dependent on a lot of energy consumption. So yes, I think that in essence is the 5 themes that we will look at and measure his buildings by, and hopefully we can give each building a rating out of 5. I think that will be fun. I won't be too harsh, okay? I think this is supposed to be fun and beautiful. Let's quickly jump over to the first project. This is Anjali and Naresh Gujral residence. I apologize, especially I apologize to Unias if I do mess up the pronunciation of some of the words. I am seriously sorry. Yes, while we're at it, this image alone is enough to sell you on this house. It's breathtaking. But I also want to say thank you to Raj Rewal Associates for this fantastic website. This website is so good. I didn't need to go anywhere else for the information. Everything I wanted was right here at my fingertips on their website. And links to all of the stuff will be on in the video's description later on. So this residence, let's see if we can understand how his idea of human habitat functions within this building. So he has a nice little slideshow for us to understand how the building works. The only thing with this house is there's no floor plan available, but we have a lot of nice photos to go on. You will automatically, immediately almost see this idea of a courtyard that's at the very back there, which is his idea of spatial enclosure. You will also see his idea of materiality and craft with what I would imagine is locally crafted bricks, as well as all the frames for the windows and the doors and the art. It's all quite well chosen and well considered. Here's a photo of that same courtyard, but just a little bit more lush after a bit of time. I think it's quite beautiful, and I think the little pool lends a lot to the cooling of the structure. So this will evaporate and create a much cooler environment in the house as a cross breeze goes through the house. I think it's lovely. I'm a sucker for a courtyard. I love courtyards in any shape or form, just about. This is one of the, I think, back facades, I would imagine. But yes, again, it shows that idea of structure. Well, this shows quite well the idea of structure and light. You can see how he uses the floor slabs as a way of creating a deep eave to cast a bit of shadow onto the glazing to avoid direct sunlight and heat gain into the house. So we've covered almost all of them except for sustainability. This is another example of these wonderful courtyards that Raj Rewal really creates, and I can't stress it enough. I love it. It's so beautiful. Yes, these courtyards are just amazing, planted nicely. The sustainability, I think the sustainability can be much more subtle than what's considered green in today's day and age. I think the fact that he uses these deep eaves contributes to sustainability. The use of local materials, the way he chooses planting in the place. Maybe grass is not the best choice because grass requires a lot of water, but perhaps he has some sort of water collection system in place to ensure that the grass can be watered all season long. That's again the courtyard, the structure, the light with the windows. Here you can see more of those, more of the windows in the interior spaces. So wrapping this project up, I think I give this a 5 out of 5, simply because he's hit every point. And I think there's a subtlety and a very considered design ethic at play in this house, and I think it's very, very beautiful. Let me know what you think about this project in the comments. I'd appreciate it, but I love this house. It's absolutely gorgeous. The second project we are going to look at is the CIDCO low-cost housing project. What can I say about this project? When I saw it first, this wasn't the first image I saw of this. It was more than likely something, it was, I think, this image that I saw first. And I immediately fell in love with this housing scheme. I think it's wonderful. The way he creates interstitial courtyards, like you can see in these images, is breathtaking. And I think it allows for a lot of social interaction. So if you imagine all sorts of different types of families living here, it could be a single person, it could be a mother and a child, it could be a couple, however it is, these people would very obviously run into one another in these alleyways and courtyards, and it would facilitate discussions and probably facilitate a lot of security as well, because there are always people around. Eyes are very good security in densely populated places. Here you can see how he structures, places the volumes of his building around a central courtyard. But what you can also start seeing here is how he has developed sort of modules that can stack and arrange in different ways and plug into one another to create these spaces. And it's not just about the interior. So let's quickly go over the 5 points that Raj Rewal gave us. Humane habitat, I think big check on that regard, because this is low cost housing, so it's meant for people who can't really afford anything. I think this is very dignified and very uplifting, and has a very strong understanding of the social constructs at play in, I believe, Delhi, India. So yes, structure and light. I think the way he breaks up the individual units creates for a lot of light in the habitable spaces inside as well. I think the courtyards become an extension of the interior spaces, because a lot of people would live outward into the courtyards. You can quite clearly see how people stack their plants on that little ledge and how people are congregating around certain points. I think it's lovely. So structure and light, I think the structure is very simple for a reason. It's to keep costs low. So yes, that I think is also a check. Spatial enclosure, big check. he does this very well in this scheme. It has very clear ideas of pedestrian alleys, walkways, and sort of moments of gathering in little courtyards all over the place, including rooftop terraces. So he spares no space. All of the space is used. And I think that's really wonderful. So materiality and craft. You can see quite an austerity to this project, where the materials are very humble and low cost. And I think that's very honest. He does try to embellish a little bit in places, but I don't think that's a bad thing in this case. I think it's very good. And then finally, sustainability. I think for the most part he gets the sustainability check mark from me, because you can quite clearly see the water tanks on top of the roof with sort of aerated brickwork around it to sort of just hide it a little bit. So it's not necessarily it doesn't detract from the aesthetic appeal of the place. So sustainability, maybe half a point. I don't know what the full sustainability of this project is like, but I do think there's I'll give it a good full-on point, because I think the places are well ventilated and well insulated, most likely. He's clearly thought of water, he's thought of light in the way that these buildings are structured. So yes, check mark. Another 5 out of 5 in my opinion for the CIDCO housing project. It's quite cool. So the next project. This is the Hall of Nations and the Hall of Industries. It was finished in 1972 and it's located in New Delhi. And as you can see, it's a little bit of an older pick, but I think this is something that not many architects have the guts to do. He created a space frame out of concrete. In a previous episode, the episode on Shigeru Ban, we spoke about a space frame made out of cardboard tubes. Instead of that, we now have a space frame made of concrete columns and beams, which is very heavy and very cool. But I think it's he achieves quite a lot in this building, and quite a span for a material that's a little bit restrictive in my opinion. So yes, let's look at the 5 points. Humane habitat. I think this is uplifting in a different way. What these buildings were for back in the day when it was popular to do this sort of project was to entice other countries to invest in your country, and also to show off what your industry can actually accomplish. So in that way, it uplifts the economy quite a lot. Structure and light. I think he nailed that in this project. The structure is exactly that. It is made to filter and allow light into the structure inside, and it is made to span quite a distance to create an internal space where an exhibition can take place. So yes, spatial enclosure. In this case, he doesn't create courtyards on the outside of the building, but rather on the inside of the building, which I find very refreshing. Even though this is one of his earlier works, you can see that there are alleys and spaces to congregate and spaces to flow out, and a large exhibition space in the middle, with all of this light pouring in from the roof of the building. So I think it's lovely. Here you can see, oh well, he actually does create a courtyard, a spatial enclosure with the organization of the components of his building, which I think is great. Oh, thanks for noticing and telling me about it. So one of my viewers just told me that this building got demolished, which is very sad, but that quite often happens with these sort of World Fair buildings. They get built, they maybe stand for a couple of years, and then they get taken down. So thank you for that. I am not going to try and pronounce your name, but thank you so much for commenting and letting us know about that. I appreciate it. Yes. So in terms of spatial enclosure, yes, Raj Rewal gets this building quite right, and he accomplishes creating internal spaces and walkways to enforce his design aesthetic. Yes. Then materiality and craft. I think this was a big showcase of what they could accomplish in India, first of all, with concrete, a very humble material and a very difficult material to work with sometimes, because the shuttering is quite tricky. And also, so the craftsmanship was sufficient to be able to accomplish this, and the materiality is very interesting in terms of the use of a very heavy structure to span such a great distance. So tick box there as well. Sustainability, I'm going to give this project a pass on sustainability, simply because this was built way before sustainability became an important thing. So I don't think I will minus a point from him on this project, and I will also just give it a 5 out of 5 based on his own rules. Yes. So let's jump over to the next project. This is the Nehru Memorial Pavilion. Hopefully this building is still in existence. I think it's quite beautiful, actually. Let me just get to the pictures so that everyone can understand what we're looking at. So most of the photos are internal spaces, but once you realize where these internal spaces are, you sort of get this immediate sense of, oh wow, it's such a nice hidden gem, because it's literally a hidden gem. It's sort of submerged into the ground, and I just want to get to a proper image. Apologies. Let's just get to one of those first pictures. Yes. So this I almost want to call it a ziggurat, or a pyramid that's buried into the ground. It's great. It houses a memorial, and it also facilitates a lot of interstitial spaces where people can sit and congregate and gather. And I just find the internal space to be such a lovely, light, airy space. Yes. In terms of his 5 points, humane habitat, I think inherently this is uplifting because it's a memorial. So, and it also gives dignity to person it is memorializing. I don't know if it's a person or a group of people, but it's nonetheless, it's very beautiful. I am also thankful that the slideshow is just keeping on sliding, so I can keep on talking, which is great. Yes, so humane habitat, I think it's uplifting. In terms of structure and light, oh my goodness, I think this is one of his most successful in terms of structure and light. The way he buries the building, but then still allows so much light into the space is beyond genius. It really is beyond genius. Spatial enclosure I find very interesting on this project, because you can see there is almost exactly this amphitheater-like space is one of those courtyards which he creates with one of the angles of the pyramid, if I can call it that. And you will see below the feet of the people there's a row of I almost want to say glass bricks, or it looks like glass bricks at least, and you can see them here, and that allows so much extra light into the space. So spatial enclosure, he does it in such a layered and fantastic way that I can't go on about this building. It's wonderful. Materiality and craft, I think it's great. It's another concrete building, so I think it's a showcase of the craftsmanship at play in India, and I think it's wonderful. Yes, I believe it's it's in New Delhi. So I think it's a wonderful display of the craftsmanship at hand. And here you can see how he even does the courtyards and spaces in the building itself, as well as on top of it. So it's very layered, like I said. And then finally, sustainability. I love how the building is buried and creates for moments of plant growth on some of the terraces instead of having more seating. Yes, sustainability-wise, especially when it comes to these types of buildings, I think it's a little bit more appropriate to use something like concrete and steel, because it's supposed to last for a very, very, very long time. So again, 5 out of 5 for this building. It's Raj Rewal really gets all 5 themes correct in this building for himself. So I'm chuffed with this building. It's really, really beautiful. Okay. Then the last building I would like to showcase is the Lisbon Ismaili Center in Portugal, which was completed in 2000. This to me is probably my favorite out of all of them. It's one where he really combines all of his themes into one absolutely superb building. So yes, let's start with humane habitat. It's a center, so in essence I think it's also uplifting and dignifying to the community, especially the surrounding community. I think it gets a definite check mark on that front. Structure and light, I mean, do I even have to say anything about that? It's so wonderful. How he creates those domes on top of that space frame is phenomenal. That curtain wall, which is made of concrete elements and a sort of an internal sheet of glass, is just beyond gorgeous. It's so good. So in terms of structure and light, I don't think he's done anything more successful. If you know of a more successful project than this in terms of structure and light, please let me know, because I find this to be genius, absolutely genius. So in terms of spatial enclosure, I think here's a good image to show how he achieves that. He does create courtyards, whether they're internal, this is even better, whether they're internal or external, he creates spatial enclosure to like the maximum here. And and I think it shows off his understanding of what a courtyard can do for a building in terms of allowing additional light into the building, as well as creating courtyards and moments where you sort of arrive at the building. I think it's really great. Materiality and craft. This is where this building really shines, in my opinion. The way he uses material and the craftsmanship in this building really imbues cultural value into the building. So this building is layered and layered and layered with cultural meaning, and I think it's just wonderful. The patterns on the walls that he creates with structure, which is even more mind-bending if you think about it, that he not only uses materiality and craft to do it, but he also uses the structure to start showcasing this cultural cultural strength in the building. And then in terms of sustainability, I would imagine that this building is quite appropriate in terms of how it filters light into the building to avoid any unnecessary energy usage over time. And yeah, I would imagine that this building has a lot of sustainable systems in place. Yeah, I haven't seen them, so I can't necessarily say, but I'm sure he would have thought about it, seeing as it's one of his key themes. Yes. So to sum up, he pretty much nails all 5 of his points in this building, and I really think this is my personal favorite amongst the 5 that I have shown you today. Yes. So if I quickly look at chat, I don't see that there are any questions. Hopefully you agree with my picks and you enjoyed it. So let's just quickly wrap things up. So thank you so much for watching. Before we finish the episode, I quickly want to remind everyone of Thankmas 2021, which will be happening on the 11th of December. I will be streaming live alongside thousands of other YouTube creators. Hopefully you can join us, and we can all contribute towards making a dent in the homelessness crisis around the world. Yes, please let me know what your thoughts were on these buildings in the comments down below. Just let me know what you thought, if you enjoyed it or not. And let me know what your favorite building was out of the 5. If you have a suggestion for an architect that you would like to see in one of my upcoming videos, yes, pop that in the comments down below. Links to all of the projects and Raj Rewal's website will be in the description of the video. And please remember to subscribe if you're new to the channel, ring the bell so that you get notified when I do go live. And also, if you enjoyed the video, smash that like button. It really helps the channel out quite a lot. It's important to know that even though if you missed the live broadcast, don't worry, I always upload the video later the week, most likely on a Friday, so that you can watch it. It will be shorter because the live videos tend to be a little bit longer. So I shorten it down by editing it a little bit, and then yes, I upload that on a Friday. I have social media. Please follow me on your platform of choice so that I can keep you up to date with what's happening on the channel. And finally, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.